Hello, my name's Sam, and a couple of nights ago I sat with a guy who had tried to kill himself, and we spent about 20 minutes quietly chatting while we waited for an ambulance to arrive. So this is what happened. It was amazing. I was out with a friend of mine called Ben, and come about 10:30 in this nice bar, the manager walked out of where the disabled toilets were, kind of along a corridor. He walked out of there looking really shocked, and a friend of his stayed in the doorway to prevent anyone else going that way. I thought this looked odd, so I went up to the guy and said, "You all right, mate?" And then, this is going to sound weird, but I felt God say to me, say these words, "Is he alive?" Which is really weird. But so I looked into this guy's eyes and I just said, "Is he alive?" And that kind of unlocked him, I guess. He just kind of went, I don't know, I don't think so, maybe. And I just thought, let's find out, shall we? So I was then able to walk past the guy who was blocking the way, and I walked in on a scene that was unbelievable. There was blood, it was unreal. It was on every wall, and it was the disabled toilet he'd barricaded himself into, so the floor space was quite big, but there was no place that was clean. So I took a kind of close look at the guy quickly and realised this was not something that I could deal with, so I ran out to the bar restaurant and just said, "Is there anyone here who's medically trained? Is anyone here a doctor?" And there was no one. So I strode back into the room and thought, what can I do? I've got a GCSE in biology. That's all I can bring to the situation. So I went in, and two of the just amazing things happened. As I knelt down next to the guy, this is amazing thing number one was just this peace just descended, and what should have been this ridiculous panic shock situation wasn't. It was just really peaceful. And we know what an adrenaline rush is like. You know, your heart races, and you know, everything becomes really sharp focus, and everything becomes slow motion. None of that happened. I was just really calm. It was so weird. I genuinely felt like the presence of God was right there with me, and I just felt really peaceful. So that was cool. The second thing was I really overwhelmingly heard the word "with," and as I knelt and put my hand on this guy's back, I realised that I was not there to cure the guy. I was not there to fix his issues or even find out why he had done what he'd done, but just to be with him. And it was a profound, that coupled with the peace made me suddenly feel equipped. Suddenly the problem became easy in a weird way. But as I sat with the guy, I said to him, I'm gonna hold your hand. And he said, "No, don't." No, he was like, "No." He was alive, which is great, but he was barely able to speak, but he said, "No, don't, my hand has got blood on it." And I thought, oh mate, that doesn't matter, that's irrelevant. I'm going to hold your hand anyway. So I held his hand, and we just chatted, and I learned a bit about this guy. Let's call him John. He wasn't called John, but let's call him John. He was a lovely, kind guy. He kept apologising for the mess. Imagine that. Anyway, I was just, it was a ridiculous situation, but he was so kind. He was an intelligent guy. He was a lovely guy. And I realised that in the kind of days afterwards, leading up to now, I kind of thought about it, and I think we are all faced with that situation sometimes. Not the situation that I was in, but the question that this guy was faced with. At some point, we are all faced with a problem that we cannot solve. And the question isn't, are you clever enough to solve life's problems? The question is, when you come across something that you can't solve, you might be a mathematician, but you're going to come across something that you can't solve. The question is, where do you go with that problem? I think that the path of death looks like isolation, and it looks like I need to solve this problem. I think death says to us, you're not worth sharing your problems. You know, you're not worth it. Don't share your problems with other people. They don't want to hear it. Death says that. I think the opposite is love. I think love says you are worth being with. When you come across a problem that you are not able to fix, whether that is trauma or whether that is some internal battle, the question is, when you face that problem, will you be able to let go of it enough to let others help you? And it's not easy, but I believe it's the path to life and love. So that's nice. How was your weekend? Mine was interesting.